Good morning, friends. I am so happy to see you again. It is freezing cold outside and we have a lot of fresh snow. So I think today is the perfect day to stay indoors and work on breakfast prep. We're doing hard-cooked eggs because my spouse requested them, and overnight oats with fresh fruit, high-protein breakfast burritos, a high-protein breakfast casserole, and some scrambled egg medleys. And the first thing I need to do is the hard-cooked eggs. And I'm going to make them in the Instant Pot. So I need 1 cup of water. And how many eggs do I have here? I have 8 eggs. And I like to put these in a basket. These go into the Instant Pot. And I'm going to cook the eggs at high pressure for 5 minutes, and then I will do a natural pressure release for 5 minutes, followed by an ice bath for 5 minutes. And I'm going to move the Instant Pot over here because I need my workstation for our other projects. And while the eggs are cooking, I need to preheat my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and then I need my baking sheet. And I have some tater tots here, which, believe it or not, will be used for the high-protein breakfast burritos. This is a 2-pound bag, so I need about 1 pound. And my remaining tater tots can go back into the freezer. And while we wait for the oven to preheat, we can get started on the overnight oats. Now this is real live cooking, so we will be bouncing around a lot today from recipe to recipe. Now for the overnight oats, I need good quality oats, and I buy mine at Tierra Farm. And I'm going to double the recipe. Last time I made overnight oats, we loved them so much that what I thought was 10 days of overnight oats was gone in like 3 days. So that was 4 cups of oats, and again, I am doubling the recipe. And I can link Tierra Farm in the description below if you are interested. Now I need 4 cups of milk. I'm using whole milk. Then I need 2 cups of plain yogurt. This is Greek yogurt. You can use regular yogurt. I also need almond butter. This is organic unsalted almond butter, which I also buy from Tierra Farm. And I need 4 tablespoons or thereabouts. And the almond butter will add good protein to the overnight oats. Chia seeds, and I do not mean to sound like an ad for Tierra Farm, but I buy my chia seeds there too. So I'm using 2 generous teaspoons of chia, and I need 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And for a hint of sweetness, I need about 6 tablespoons of pure maple syrup. And this is good local maple syrup. Actually, my friend Kathy gave this to me at Christmas time. Finally, I need a half teaspoon of salt. And all I have to do is stir everything together. I'm using a Danish dough whisk here. You could use a spoon. Now I've given you the measurements for these overnight oats simply because there is no printable recipe. Not for the version I'm following anyway. Now, when properly combined, the overnight oats should look plenty soupy, but they will thicken up overnight in the refrigerator. And before I transfer these overnight oats to jars, I need to pop my tater tots into the oven. They need to cook just for 20 to 25 minutes. Let me clean up my ingredients and fetch my jars. Actually, my eggs are already hard cooked, so I need to put them in an ice bath. So we will have to jar up these overnight oats in just a moment. What I like to do is first crack each egg before I put it in the ice bath. And these eggs are very hot. Ooh. And these can sit in the bath for 5 minutes, and then we will peel them. I'm going to add fresh fruit to this overnight oats, so I'm only going to fill the jars roughly 2/3 of the way. So these are roughly pint-sized jars. I think I said I would fill the jars 2/3 of the way, but I'm actually only filling them halfway. This way there's plenty of room for the fruit and for us to stir the fruit into the overnight oats before we eat them. And if you've never had overnight oats, let me assure you that they are out of this world delicious. Creamy, dreamy, just otherworldly delicious. So I have blueberries and some small strawberries that we can add to the overnight oats. And please bear with me a moment because my tater tots are done. So now I want to add some strawberries and blueberries to each of these jars. I should mention that these overnight oats are my favorite breakfast on gym days. They really boost my energy before a big workout. You could add the fresh fruit right before you serve the overnight oats, but I know we will eat ours within, let's say, 5 days. So I'm going to go ahead and add them now. Now we can put on the lids. These are leak-proof screw-on lids, and I just love them. I can link them in the description below if you are interested. They work with all mason and ball canning jars. And I need my tray so I can transport all of these jars to the fridge. And as they sit in the fridge overnight, magic will happen. The oats will become super hydrated, super creamy, super wonderful. So my hard-cooked eggs are nice and chilled now. Let me show you how easy they are to peel. And then to store these eggs so that they will last for at least 1 full week, I put them in these tubs. And then I cover them with cold water. And these are so convenient to have, especially when you're doing a low-carb diet and you just want a quick snack or something immediate for breakfast. Just grab a hard-boiled egg into the refrigerator. And onto the high-protein breakfast casserole. I have never made this before, but the ingredients sound wonderful, so I'm willing to give it a try. And the first thing I need to do is lightly grease an 8-inch square baking dish and preheat my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And since I will need red pepper and onion for both the high-protein breakfast casserole and the high-protein breakfast burritos, I'm going to go ahead and prep all of them now. And I will link the recipe I'm using for both the casserole and the burritos in the description below, so you don't have to write anything down. Now, because I have this nifty vegetable dicer, I'm going to go ahead and use it to dice all of these red bell peppers. And this thing is fun to use. I just discovered that you can actually stack the bell peppers in here and then dice them. And let's have a look. Perfectly diced red bell pepper. I also need some diced onion. And happily, the onion, which we will need for both the burritos and the casserole, will not require any dicing because you and I diced our homegrown onions last fall and froze them. I needed a medium onion for one of the recipes and half of an onion for another, so I think 1 cup of diced onion will be plenty. And now I need to saute the onion and the peppers until they are soft. My spouse is pre-diabetic, so things like hard-cooked eggs and the breakfast casserole and the breakfast medleys we are making today are ideal for him. They are also healthy for me. And now that the peppers and onions have softened, we can transfer them to a bowl. And then I need to chop up some mushrooms and saute them until they evaporate off their liquid. And the mushrooms will be for the casserole. I think the mushrooms take the place of meat in that casserole. And here are the mushrooms. I've just rinsed them. And I need only to chop them. And I can saute the mushrooms in the same skillet we used for the peppers and onions. I'm sauteing the mushrooms in a little avocado oil. A sprinkling of salt helps the mushrooms to release their moisture. Now, the reason you want to saute the mushrooms until all of their moisture evaporates is so that you don't end up with a soggy casserole. And while we wait on those mushrooms, we might as well make the custard. And for the custard, I need 8 eggs. I also need cottage cheese, milk, shredded Colby Jack cheese, and salt. I have turned off the flame beneath my mushrooms because they have given up all of their moisture. And we're going to blend this custard at low speed. Back to the stovetop now, because I need to add half of this bell pepper and onion mixture to the mushrooms. Then I'm going to stir in some baby kale and some seasonings. I'm also adding garlic powder and a touch of red pepper flakes. The red pepper flakes will add just a touch of heat. Now I can add the baby kale and sauté it just until it wilts. And our kale has wilted. We just need to let this cool for a few minutes, and then we can assemble the casserole. Now, to assemble this high-protein breakfast casserole, I need to first put half of the mushroom and pepper and onion and kale mixture in the bottom of the pan. And remember, I did grease this pan. Then I will add the custard. And then the remaining onion and kale mixture. And of course, we need to top this with some more of the Monterey Jack cheese, or rather, this is Colby Jack cheese. And this goes into the preheated oven until the casserole puffs. That's going to take about 40 minutes. And while the casserole is baking, I'm going to clean up a little, and then we can cook off the turkey that we will need for the high-protein breakfast burritos. So this next recipe is called Meal Prep Breakfast Burritos. I have not tried it before, but it's a very interesting recipe because the burritos include the tater tots that you and I baked off earlier. And we need some ground, either sausage or I'm just using regular ground turkey. And I'm going to cook this off right now. I can tell you right now that these breakfast burritos turned out fantastically well. I'm browning and cooking the ground turkey in a little avocado oil. For seasonings, I'm using salt, pepper, garlic powder, and homegrown dried parsley. And for both the breakfast burritos and the scrambled breakfast medleys that we are making, I'm going to need a lot of eggs. And rather than try to beat them in a bowl, I'm going to beat them right in my blender. I'm beating a total of 4 dozen eggs. I will need 3 dozen eggs for the breakfast medleys and 1 dozen eggs for the breakfast burritos. I don't think I dare add this last dozen eggs yet to this blender. First, I'm going to beat these eggs, then we'll see if we have room. I definitely would not have had room in this blender for the last dozen eggs. I don't even have room in this great big pitcher, but I need a lot of eggs because when I do those breakfast medleys, I want a fair amount of scrambled eggs in each one. I have never cracked this many eggs at one time in my life. Blend this last batch. I've decided that the easiest way to scramble all of these eggs is in my electric skillet because it affords a lot more room than any of my stovetop skillets do. I want to scramble the eggs along with some high quality butter. This is salted Kerrygold butter. It's my favorite. And I think I will cook, or rather scramble, these eggs in 2 batches. And I want to add some salt and pepper. And the way to get really nice, creamy scrambled eggs is to cook them low and slow. I'm on the second batch of scrambled eggs, but now the high-protein breakfast casserole is baking. Let's have a look. This looks absolutely gorgeous. We will try to give you a close-up in just a moment. I'm going to set this aside. It smells wonderful too. Now that all of the eggs for the breakfast medleys are done, we can make the breakfast burrito filling. To the skillet, I'm adding the already cooked ground turkey, the red bell pepper mixture, and the remaining 1 dozen beaten eggs. And we are ready to assemble the high protein, let me clean this up, the high protein breakfast burritos. So I have my burritos here. These are 10-inch tortillas. Almost forgot my queso, or cheese. So on goes roughly a half cup of this mixture. Spilled some here. And then we are supposed to add 4 tater tots. And the cheese. So we fold this over, and then this over, and this over, and roll. And I need my parchment. I also need my food storage container. Now, I'm going to freeze these burritos. And then, to reheat, I simply put them in the microwave at 30% power for about 5 minutes to get them nice and hot and to get the cheese melty. I'm on my 9th burrito, and the more burritos I have formed, the better I got at forming them. It's been a long time since I've rolled up burritos. Actually, I think I can fit these last 2 in here. Mission accomplished. Now, I want to have a taste of this filling. Oh my goodness. This is delicious. Perfectly seasoned. It's got a perfect texture. Missing the cheese, but still just wonderful. A quick cleanup. And then we will make the scrambled egg medleys. So these scrambled egg medleys will be super simple to do because they're just scrambled eggs and another protein. Here I have bacon that I have cooked previously and stored in the freezer. And then I have some frozen breakfast sausages here. I have a number of food storage containers that are suitable for the freezer. These particular containers have a divider, so I can put the egg on one side and maybe a couple of sausage links, on the other side. This is the kind of thing that my spouse really enjoys having for breakfast. And then I have some smaller containers here that I can fill with the scramble and some of the pre-cooked bacon. And I don't remember if I mentioned that this breakfast sausage over here is thoroughly cooked. It was thoroughly cooked and then frozen. And of course, these scrambled medleys can also be reheated in the microwave at 30 or even 50% power. One sausage there and 2 or 3 strips of bacon in here. So let's have a look at everything we made today. And then, as I mentioned before, I want to have a taste of that high-protein breakfast casserole. So here is the high-protein breakfast casserole. I'm going to cut this into, I think, 9 squares. And my friend Ted sent me this wonderful plastic serrated knife, which is just great to use on nonstick cookware, which is what this pan is. Going to have a corner piece. Oh my goodness. This is lovely. The eggs cook up almost with a bready texture, and that is a good thing. And I love the bell pepper and onion in here. What else did we put in here? Bell pepper, onion, and mushroom. That's what I'm tasting, the mushroom. And of course, the mushroom, since we cooked it long enough to evaporate all of its moisture, the mushroom is very meaty. This is a perfect little breakfast casserole. It would be great for a brunch. It would even be great for dinner. Now, I need to store all of these squares. I can fit the remaining 4 squares of casserole in the same dish because I separated the first layer with a piece of parchment. I hope you will give this casserole a try. So let's look at everything we made today. We did 8 servings of overnight oats. We did 8 hard-cooked eggs. We did 10 breakfast burritos. We did 8 squares of the high-protein breakfast casserole. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 servings of the breakfast medley. My friends, I think this is enough food to get us through a month of breakfast. And I'm not looking forward to washing all of the dishes I used today, but I am so happy that I don't have to worry about breakfast for a very long time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really enjoy your company, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye for now, friends.